So I'm finna refill my turmeric and talk about We Refuse by Kelly Carter Jackson and Heavy by Kiese Layman. And first I'm gonna stop the dryer. Yeah. And then I'm also talk about merch. Let's get into it. So March for me was like most, except I got sick during spring break. I also have doll on the stove, so I might need a cut for that. There's a lot that went on in March, but namely it was finishing the two books I mentioned, Heavy and We Refuse. Heavy, it's like a memoir talking about Kiese Layman and his life, like growing up in Mississippi, talking about racial injustices, like the injustices that women face too, just from his point of view. But also like just his experiences with life, I think, especially as a black man with like, that's always been like his weight's always been like you're a big man, like even though he was like a teenage boy. I think about that. I think it made me think about my elder brother a lot. The way the body can be, not just him, but me too, right? Because like being on asthma, not having asthma growing up and being on steroids, because they would prescribe you steroids, it made your body like bigger, you like gained weight. And there were so many things that like people would be like I remember like people being like, why don't you just put the fork down? And it's just like, oop. Like, you thought you ate. I did, actually, thank you. But that's not the point. It's it was weird stuff like that growing up, where it's just like, do you not understand how steroids can affect a child's body? Anyway, so yeah, I'll read some of the quotes that I took from Heavy that I thought were really dope, but one quote that stood out to me that I have up is like, they will distract you and try to kill you. And I feel like that's just a blatant thing. Like even now, like they will try to distract you and try to kill you at the same time. And like I think that doesn't go just for individuals but collective groups, people protesting, people trying to formulate actions around different objectives that they have, or goals they have for their communities. Anyway, and another thing he points out is like he points out the riots that go on, well, not riots, uprisings, I suppose, not riots, but it reminded me like, because his mom was kind of like, I know they're blaming us, like, because people gonna loot, people gonna set things on fire. And it's just like, it's amazing how much buildings matter more than people and what they're going through and their hurt and the way that they're expressing that hurt. But I digress. Because there's a quote from there at that time, he's reflecting on this, like these things going on and police brutality, and he's just like, even more than knocking them out, I wanted all the money, the safety, and the second chances they stole, talking about like white people. And it reminded me, like, we had a conversation in March for degrowth, We do a degrowth coffee hour, me and some people, and we talk about economic changes, and reparations and repatriation got brought up. And I'm like, if the economy changes, all this changes. Like, don't you understand that? Like, it's not just y'all, like, it's not just everybody getting access to education or healthcare. It's land, and land isn't just, and I was telling people, I was just like, land isn't just something you own. It's never been something you own. Like, I feel like now that's all it's reduced to. But I'm like, people have relationships and psychological attachments. Like, we are part of land. Okay? Anyway, kinship, hello. Alright. Relationalities. Look it up. Anyway, another point that they bring up is like, they never say white supremacy, neo-confederacy, or empire, but we live it. And I was just like, that we do, baby boo, that we do. What I'll do is, instead of like reading through this, because like I have a bunch of things, like we shouldn't give them our rage, and like no disaster starts on the day everything falls apart. And black people spend so much creative energy begging white folk to care and see them. And white folks' ignorance is not your responsibility. White folks' ignorance is not your responsibility. I really like the end of this book, where it's like talking about not just, there's many ways to remember the body, yes, but I think there's many ways to remember the collective, especially the United States, and especially with everything going on right now, and beyond that, before that, right? It was like, the nation as it's currently constituted has never dealt with the yesterday or tomorrow where we were radically honest, generous, or tender with each other. It will, though. It will not be reformed. And I was just like, and I think that hit because, especially right now, or just recently, within the past week, I finished The Revolution Will Not Be Theorized by Henderson. And he talks about no, he doesn't really talk about Reconstruction, but he talks about how people, because they didn't understand theory that was produced during Reconstruction, Civil Rights Movement comes, and that's all people are doing. They're thinking they're doing something revolutionary, and it's just reform. Black Power movement gets closer with the League of Black Workers. But he's just like, still people are misunderstanding the means to the ends, like which, how to go about doing that. If that makes sense. And maybe I can read you my review for Heavy, but I don't feel like it actually. Never mind. So that was Heavy. And then We Refuse. Yeah, Heavy made me think about a lot of different things. I'm not even gonna lie. I haven't even started putting this stuff, the turmeric and the thing. I'll try. So, We Refuse. How do you open this? One second. Cold. Anyway, so I'll just read it. I did a book review. I wrote one. I won't read all of it, but Kelly Carter Jackson, what she does in We Refuse is she says, she's just kind of giving you history, low key, giving you game on history, but she's also these are the remedies for Black. This is these are remedies for resisting this illness in society, or remedying society. And got some on my laptop. So like the first one, revolution. She talks about what revolution really means. And like I feel like she also brings up like the reform that you're seeking isn't revolution. Like I feel like everybody that's protesting right now, that's just like, well, and I don't want to knock back anybody's protest, but at the same time, I'm like, all the white people that are going out there were like, don't touch this, don't touch that, like don't play with these things, and it's just like, baby, it's and it's like it's not revolutionary. It's you going out there trying to protect something that you're realizing not even you have privy to if you're not rich and white. Anyway, I was just reflecting on those protests, like, because I didn't go to one. I heard about them. Someone even sent me like a little news article, and because I didn't know what was going on. Sorry. Anyway, it's just, I just think it's really astounding that this is like the largest demonstration of protest potentially against the presidency, I think, within a day, like Saturday. And like I'm thinking about the way that like with Black Lives Matter protests, anytime black people protest, there's always violence. Like police always come and get you, and it's just like you can never protest peacefully. And it's just crazy to me, like white people really can't go out there and protest peacefully. Anyway, I guess it shouldn't be crazy. So she talks about discussing, well, she like discusses a lot of different marches, protests, hashtags, anything that is trying to reckon with racial injustice. And I said it was a wonderfully crafted book that shows the refusal of black people, both denying whiteness and white supremacy, its power and unearned authority, and subjugation of people. In her own words, the book calls bovine scatology on BS, on that which is perpetuated by white supremacy, including manufactured scarcity, good intentions, and nice masters. And I feel like that's a great point, because I'm like, right now, I'm like, all you're protesting is just, you're like, I feel like you're protesting unearned authority and things like that, but I'm like, you're not, it's just not groundbreaking to me, I think. Like, I feel like protesting at this point in time, especially when the majority of white people voted for this guy, right? It's like, you're protesting, not us. You can't do this to us. That's what it's giving me. It doesn't give me, we need to change the system. It's like, the system works for us and you're not including us. That's what it gives me. Like, and I think that's what a lot of people point out about civil rights movement. It's just like, not to oversimplify it or maybe reduce it, but it was like a lot of like, include me. And of course, you know, building blocks, like I'm not knocking that down, like building blocks, like I praise God for my ancestors and who they are and exactly what they did. Especially considering like before Reconstruction, pre-Civil War, the fact that there were so many uprising and rebellions, like before, like since captivity, and they don't teach you about that. And I think she was trying to bring that up. She was like, the information and the knowledge thereof, this is the remedy. To know that you've been there before and you'll be there again, that's the remedy. Like, to know your history and be able to inform your actions with it. And like that's the remedy. Anyway, like a lot of that is critical. I think I wrote down that she reminds me, like the work that she does there reminds me of this Disney series that I was watching called Moon Girl and Never Dinosaur. And There's an episode called Like Mother, Like Moon Girl, in which the protagonist is reminded to always use her voice like her mother does. And so, yeah, I was reminded of that. Let's see what else. I think she discusses how she talks about nonviolence and violence, like in terms of action, direct action. Like, you know, like how MLK was pushing the whole like, we gotta hold their hand. And Robert Williams is kind of like, get a gun, actually, load up. I think that was a great display of that when she was talking about the remedy of force. Like, she was just like I think you saw like how in Ohio the KKK tried to run up and talk about some we out and proud now, and then all the black people in town got their guns and loaded up, and it's just like, get gone. Like, actually, like, I think about that because force isn't just about drawing a gun on people. It's about protecting your livelihood, your existence, standing 10 toes down on that. And I think that's what this book is trying to remind you of. Not only has denying your existence never worked, but there's always ways to fight back. So just wrapping this up, she's like, this is a book that primarily focuses on Black resistance. This is a text that can speak to the complexities of resistance, the historical necessities of defiance, and the events and strategies behind collective resistance. The affirmation of humanity in her work allows us to synthesize that there is more work, even if emblematic or dancing, that must be done in tandem with our protests and hashtags. More than anything, she demonstrates the culture of white supremacy in thought and deed. This is critical in exposing the mindset of white supremacy that continues to seek to subjugate people. And that's how I felt about the protest, right? Like, everybody's protesting, like, oh, job loss, and leave my benefits alone. And, like, baby, the economy is crashing. Not the economy, the stock market, but in tandem. And it's just, like, one thing I think is going to be critical moving forward is working out, learning different kinds of economy for yourself, governance, and yeah, because I think it's really interesting and critical to point out how, like, I feel like everybody just kind of not co-opted, but a lot of folks fell into step with, like, and that's one thing I was reading in this recent book. Let me get my point across, because Henderson in The Culture Will Not Be Theorized, he points out how much people just hated religion, but in just so much so they can't see it as how it's been a weapon of change for Black people historically. And I feel like that was a great point made. Like, we try to ignore these institutions that quite frankly are like culture for people. And that's because a lot of that culture, especially when it comes to white evangelical Christians, it's been ruthless, exclusionary, dehumanizing, oppressive, colonialist. There's so many words, because especially when you see that white evangelical Christians are the same ones that were like supporting Nazis until they weren't, or like supporting Israel until they're not. It's cycles. It's really all cycles. And don't get caught in the spiral.